First, I've not had any coffee yet today, and if you notice that I'm very sluggish, that would be because I'm very tired. We have created a brain that is fully reliant upon caffeine. This is what the face of addiction looks like, and this is what true addiction looks like, because I needed some more packing material, so I went over to KEH and got some more cameras. Oh, before we get into it, please be sure to subscribe to the channel. Really appreciate any and all support. Like the video if you enjoy it. A few items, and I kind of branched out this time. I went for a little bit more variety, as I think you'll see, although not with this one. We start out with just a standard Canon T50, and this has similar issues as to what I'm used to seeing, being severe battery corrosion, missing battery contact there, but it does have a clean prism, and that's kind of what I was looking for. I think it was like $4 or something insanely low price like that. Oh, I'm very excited about this. Okay, we'll get to it. This next one is a Minolta SRT 201. Looks like there is some issues with the curtain travel. The shutter's probably a little bit busted, but that's very easy to get into. Super easy to repair. Just needs a little bit of tidying up. Let's see the slower speeds. Honestly, not that bad. Yeah, it probably could use some love. The looks like somebody tried to glue advance lever thing back on, so it's kind of sticking out a little bit weird, but for the most part, I would say it's in fairly good condition. The slow speeds working is a good feature there. So cool, got that good. Another Canon T50, because the price was quite right, I would say. This one looks like it has a battery contact, and honestly it looks pretty clean, so I might toss some batteries in here and see if it works, just for kicks and giggles, but there is quite a bit of dust and buildup around the rest of the body, so it probably doesn't work, and honestly not really even worth the time, but it does look kind of clean internally. Two T50s, we'll add that to the prism donor pile there. Spotmatic SP2, because I do kind of like these cameras. I think that I don't really talk about them as much as the SPs because I have many more SPs. The SP2 isn't as popular, but there are quite a few features on here that I like a lot that I kind of want to talk about. So I got another one to discuss that. This one looks a little bit rough. The meter is off. There's a lot of buildup there. Battery door has been chiseled into, it looks like. But cosmetically, it looks salvageable. Slower speeds seem to be working relatively fine, so SP2, can't go wrong with that. All right, now to go over their oopsie. I got a Pentax ME Super, and this is what that looks like. And it says here on the bag, Pentax ME Super 35mm camera. So pleasant surprise, I've got the brown leather version, which I just think looks fantastic, but it's an ME SE, so not an ME Super. It's an ME, which is a perfectly fine camera, but not an ME Super, which is kind of funny. It's also missing the battery door down in the bottom there. I do have a few of those, so it's not like the biggest deal in the world. And again, it just seems to work fine, so I'm not really sure. Or the leather's kind of receding a little bit. Sometimes this happens, but overall I would say it looks like it's in fairly decent condition. I don't really know. They also broke the self-timer. They put it on the wrong way. I'm very confused by this. I feel like it's just orientated incorrectly. Anyway, so this is a very confusing ME SE purchase that was meant to be a ME Super, but that's fine. It is what it is. So those are the cameras that I got. Now, as I mentioned, I did branch out a little bit, and I thought, I wonder what their lens selection is, because I had an issue that I made a members video about, where I was discussing I have a lot of cameras, I don't have a lot of lenses, and in the first batch of sales I did, I really got rid of most of the lenses I had, the kit lenses, the 51/8s, so on and so forth. So I need more because I would like to sell these, and typically the cameras sell more when they have lenses with them. So I got a couple lenses. This one is the Minolta MD, I think it's an SR mount though. I think that's how it's like properly talked about, but anyway, 51/7. Now this one said that it had a front ring issue, so you couldn't mount filters onto it. And I can definitely see a little scuff. The focus is a little bit stiff. Little Minolta camera kit there, not too shabby, not too shabby. There's a Pentax 55mm f2. And if I didn't know better, which I think I do know, but it looks like someone's actually been in here. There's quite a bit of stuff in the elements there, and the blades seem to be a little sluggish at first, but again, for kind of a kit lens, it's pretty decent. I actually don't think I've ever shot with a 55 f2 in the K mount. This is kind of new. I know it's like not that crazy of a lens, but I'm kind of used to more like just the standard 50. So seeing a 55 is kind of cool. There is a big dent in the front ring here, so you can't really add a filter to it. And then also the leather was included in a separate bag. So I guess that's kind of cool there. But yeah, got a Pentax lens. This is not as good a quality as the other one, I would say. But in terms of affordability, this was a pretty good get. And again, lots of shipping material, which is great. Now, the final thing that I purchased, this is Yashica Matte LM. This supposedly has a meter in it. It has the selenium cells in there or whatever, so it doesn't require power to operate. The light resistance coming in is what powers the meter, something like that. The meter apparently doesn't work on this one. It's probably not very accurate. I am getting some reading off of it, but I would not trust that. It has a grid focus screen, which is pretty sweet. Apparently the speeds are also bad on this. So typically it's the slower speeds. Yeah. So the slow speed escapement on these goes bad pretty quickly. Or it doesn't go bad pretty quickly, I should say, because these are kind of older cameras. But this one has gone bad. But I've worked on enough of these, it's pretty easy to get in there and flush it out. So I will be doing that. There's definitely some scratching on that front optic there. And a lot of like gunk in the rest of it. Definitely needs to come apart. Is that mold? It might be. There might be a little bit of mold in there. I'm going to need to take the optics apart anyway to get to the escapement. But then when I do that, I'll basically be cleaning them out. That'll be a separate video. Going over all of that, and then I'll definitely be checking to make sure that the spacing is accurate. But really, why I got this is because I have a few of these kind of like lower tier TLRs, because they, at least from my understanding, they weren't that difficult to produce. So like a lot of companies would like slap their name on it, and they'd be kind of like these low rent versions of this, or of like the Rolleiflex or the Rolleicord. And then of the, obviously the more professional later models like the Mamiya series and all of that. I have the Mamiya C330, and that's one of my favorite cameras. I'm going to be doing a video on that soonish. But I wanted to get a smaller, lighter weight version of a TLR that was a little bit more dependable and reliable. and I saw this for a pretty screaming deal, and it had issues that I was like, I can probably address these, but with the KEH site, it's a crapshoot because they don't post pictures of that specific item. And then something like the ME Super situation could happen where I bought something completely different than what I got. And granted, this works out just fine because I like an ME, that'll be fine, that will sell. But for instance, with something like this, it's a bit more of a gamble. And as far as I understand, with their higher priced items, they take pictures of those exact things, which makes sense. And I'm not saying that they should, like, shame on them for not putting actual pictures out of their lower tier gear, because I can understand why they wouldn't. But with something like this, it was like, it's worth the risk because the price is low enough. And at the very least, it's always good to have parts of something like this on hand. The fact that this one's probably, like, I would say 75% operational, maybe lower. If we're thinking of the totality of operation being the meter as well, probably significantly lower, maybe like 65, 55%. Once I get the speeds up and running, get it up to about that 75, 80% operational level, I don't really need to use the meter. It has all of the functionality that I kind of need, but it's compact, it's small, it's very lightweight, and I think this will be my new travel medium format camera because I just got back from a trip recently and I took the Bronica, and honestly that took up so much room in my bag. And I brought other cameras with me, but I think if I bring the Bronica, that's going to be the only thing I bring. And even the Mamiya C330, I love that camera, I love traveling with it, but it's pretty big too, and it's a bit more to kind of deal with. Whereas this, I feel like, is a little bit more lightweight, kind of a similar, you know, shooting format to the Mamiya C330, a bit of the same, but just a lot smaller. So I'm very, very excited about this. But I think for now, for the time being, we're gonna call that a day. I'm gonna go make some coffee because I'm starting to develop a bit of a headache, and that's never good. But yeah, shout outs to KEH for sending me the wrong thing. And just to clarify, I'm really not upset about the ME Super thing. I honestly find it funny more than anything else. The only thing I'm like moderately upset about is the fact that the T50 has a working battery door, because then that makes me think, well, maybe I should try to shoot it. And I don't really want to deal with that right now, but I might try. That's all for today's video. Thank you for watching. Appreciate it as always. Remember to like the video if you enjoyed it, subscribe to the channel, and I'll catch you on the next one.